Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Excited to be back with y'all in a limited capacity, but I am here. Excited to be with you guys. Welcome to Living in Tampa Live. I do not have my normal cast with me. As you guys are aware, everybody's kind of displaced right now due to the hurricane madness, but we'll get into that tonight. Got some cool things to share with you guys. I'm going to show you video of my flooded out home. um, and it's one of those things, man. I've got some good news I want to share with you guys tonight about what's happening here in Tampa Bay. But if you're tuning in, you saw the thumbnail here. Like, what's the path, right? What's the path to putting paradise back on the map? And we're going to get into that tonight. Some details. Want to get into some studies, some numbers that I think will be intriguing to you. If you've never joined us before, welcome to this live stream. I invite you to first and foremost let me know where you're watching from. I try to make it as interactive as possible. We talk about all things Tampa Bay, including the negatives and the challenges we've had over the last few months. I realize that it is an election night, and our audience may be limited, but hopefully that's for good reason, that y'all out there are exercising your right to vote. So I'm excited for that. It is November 5th here. It is crunch time, so I'm sure we'll have lots to talk about next week on that too. But I wanted to get into the nitty gritty about what's happening here in Tampa Bay, what you can expect, because over the last, really 3 weeks, we've gotten so many phone calls and emails about, hey, we were planning on coming to, Clearwater Beach or Siesta Key, and should we still come, and what does it look like? And I want to share some of those things with you guys today. I want to share some statistics with you. I know that doesn't sound sexy, but I want to share some real numbers about like claims made on insurance and recovery cost, and just get into the weeds a little bit on that as promised, and then also share with you guys again what happened to me personally, where we're at, and just you guys can kind of see like what's going on there. So I'm excited to connect with you guys tonight. Thanks for chiming in. Thanks for being an audience member and a viewer. If you chime into this, if you connect with us regularly on Tuesdays, we're here every Tuesday night, barring any hurricane madness. And I love connecting with you guys, our audience and our community, and I have been grateful for the reach outs. There's been so many of you who've connected with me via Instagram or sent me an email or just shot me a text message as well. You can connect with me on Instagram. My handle's right there. It's at Juan.alcalá.realtor. I'm happy to make those connections. And again, let me know where you're watching from. If you have questions during this live stream, please do not hesitate to put it in the chat. If you were joining us and later on this recorded video, know that all my contact information is down below too. But let's get into it tonight, man. It has been like I said, a very interesting time here in Tampa Bay, and it's I definitely wanted to get into showing you guys some of the things that happened here, and what has happened so far. So first thing I want to share with you guys is this article here, which is fascinating to me. Big numbers here. Hurricane Milton, Helene top $4.3 billion, which is just a staggering number when you think about that in terms of the cost of recovery so far. As recovery continues, more than 26,000 people have checked into FEMA supported housing, and more than 2,700 have had blue tarps put on their roofs. Now, if you watch any of my regular videos, over the last 2 weeks, I went out to the beach, Indian Rocks Beach, where I live. And last week I was in Shore Acres, which is in one of the flood-prone neighborhoods in St. Petersburg. And St. Pete got rocked, y'all. The amount of rain that happened there, over 16 inches of rain, it's just staggering. And, again, where I lived, we got 12 inches, and it was more than my home could take. So it was heartbreaking to drive down those streets. Shore Acres, I don't know how many homes are in there. I'm going to have to find out that information, but I'll say this. I drove past 10 or 12 streets, and out of the hundreds, if not over 1,000 homes that I drove by, there was probably 5 houses that didn't have a pile of trash at the end of their road, at the end of the driveway. And a lot of those homes were built back in the 50s and are at sea level or just barely above, and they were definitely flooded out. So it was crazy town. But when you see these numbers, they're staggering. And I wanted to share with you guys some more because they've got this broke down here. And if you're watching this, I'll put the links to these resources once the live stream wraps up, in the description in YouTube down below, so you guys can find that there. Just so you know, if you want to go check this stuff out on your own. And it says Hurricane Milton here. Category 3 made landfall on October 28th. That was a Wednesday evening. I know that because our life flipped upside down there too. The total estimates of insured losses so far just from Hurricane Milton are $2.8 billion, which is a staggering number. Total claims, 253,000 claims. And we were one of those claims and we were denied already. So I shared a little bit of that. I'll get into the weeds with you guys later. But man, so many residential, like 202,000 affected residential properties during Hurricane Milton. And if we head down to Hurricane Helene, which is a week earlier than that, which is insane. When you think about it, there's 127,000 homes or total claims there. So twice the amount of claims in Hurricane Milton as there was in Helene, which was already crazy. So definitely some staggering numbers when we look at these. But yeah, big numbers here. $4.3 billion in total. It's just a huge number. Carrie, thanks for contributing here. She asked, how is Paso Grill? Paso Grill is my happy place. Paso Grill is, it needs a lot of love. Again, not all of our beaches are back open. I'm going to actually get into that a little bit, Carrie, talk about what beaches are open, what that actually means, because there is a difference. A lot of our beaches are actually currently, they are, active construction sites. There are excavators out there and dump trucks, and they're doing dredging to get the sand back out from the Gulf of Mexico back onto the beaches. There's a reclamation process going on there, and then they have to sift through it and clean it out. So there's a lot going on, but we do have some good news in terms of beaches and what's going on in our community. So thank you for the question, Carrie. I appreciate that. And Paso Grill is awesome, y'all. It's on the southern tip of the peninsula. I'll pull it up on the map here shortly, but it's on the southern tip of the peninsula here in Pinellas County. Great beach, just an absolutely, it's a gem. She said it's her happy place. It's probably, thousands and thousands of people's happy place, because it's just one of those areas. And we're spoiled rotten, man. I've shared this on the channel before, but we're blessed enough to have 27.5 miles of white sugar sand beaches, and they definitely were affected. And Paso Grill, if I start digging in, look south of St. Pete Beach there, y'all, and you'll start to see it as we head down into Chalkee and the area down here. So Paso Grill is very popular, and there's Dog Beach down at the end down there too. So it's a really cool place to go hang out and just to take note of. So I wanted to share that with y'all. But let me get back to beaches opening up, since we're on that topic. Great question, Carrie. Thanks for asking. Definitely appreciate that. Okay. So good news, Siesta Beach opened. And I mean, for them to get back open after really taking the brunt of that storm, the thing I don't think people realize is Milton essentially landed 30-40 miles south of Tampa, and down in Sarasota. So, they took a direct shot, a lot of recovery going on down there in St. Armand's Circle and areas like that. So just keep praying for those people as they continue to work through recovery. But good news is we have a world-class beach open. And, if you've never been to Siesta Beach, that Lido Beach, I mean, these are some of the best beaches in the United States. So, definitely happy to report that. Also, Clearwater Beach has reopened. Tourists are starting to come back in, which is wonderful, but still a long road to recovery there. Also, a lot of the businesses are going to be reopening later this year, end of November, December into January. And unfortunately, we are losing businesses. We've got notification of some of our favorite places. As an example, Slice Pizzeria, which I featured many times on my YouTube channel before, will not be opening back up after 13 years. And it's heartbreaking. It's one of our favorite spots to go and, just spend time with the family and enjoy a great slice of pizza. So that's a bummer. And there are probably going to be more as this goes along, but this is part of recovery. And unfortunately, it's not always pretty. And we're going to lose people. And I don't mean they're going to, to be careful what I say on YouTube. They're not leaving us permanently, but they may, decide to relocate and move away from Florida. And I'm going to share a study with you guys that I spoke about last week on the live stream, spoke about Saturday on our video, and I thought it was worth the share, with the community, because it's just such a unique thing on how hurricanes impact you. And then I'm going to show you guys a live walkthrough when we got home, because as you know, may or may not know, this YouTube channel has blessed us with the opportunity to serve about 150 families over the last 2.5 years. And I have just gotten the habit of recording everything. And I'll get into some of that, but we actually recorded when we pulled back up to the house and our initial experience there, because again, we didn't know what we were going to be walking into essentially a day after the storm. But I want to share this study with you first, and then kind of and then we'll get into sharing our experience at home. But this comes from the Journal of Environmental Economics and Management. This paper studies the impact of hurricanes on the housing market and population turnover using microdata. This study took place from 2000 to 2016 in Florida specifically. Okay, so I wanted to get something that pointed towards what happens to a coastal region when a natural disaster comes through, because I had seen snippets of studies and I had heard other people say, but I like to do research, and I'd also heard this, from the Florida Realtors Board, that after a hurricane, property values actually go up. And it's so counterintuitive, and it's almost unbelievable when people say that. So I really wanted to dig into some data, some facts about it. And my point here is not to try to convince somebody that your property is worth more money and you need to go through a natural disaster. I'm not trying to convince anybody of anything. I just wanted to come on here with my community and share some of the things that I have been speaking about and researching. And I found this fascinating, and I thought that you guys would as well. But this study, again, studied the state of Florida post-hurricane from 2000 to 2016. And I want to get into some specifics in here. I'm not going to read this entire study. Again, I'll link these resources in the comment section down below in the description. Okay, so you guys can check that out there. If you're just joining us, welcome to the live stream. I know we got people hanging out over on Instagram as well. Shout out to everybody who's hanging out. Susan, thanks. I'll see you when you return. That's awesome. Don't hesitate to leave comments over there. Unfortunately, I can't share them on the live stream. I always like to do that, but I can't do them from Instagram. I can from Facebook and all the other sources. So make sure if you guys got questions or a comment, feel free to leave that. I'm going to respond. But this was another fascinating piece here as we get into the study. Let me see if I can get any larger. Yeah, there we go. That's better. All right. It says, we find that home prices increase in exposed areas in the 3 years following a hurricane. Compared to unexposed areas, home prices in those areas are 5% higher on average during this period, with a peak of 10% the second year. That's pretty darn interesting, right? That's pretty darn interesting when you think about that. Now, here's something else too. Now, here's the other side, right? Like, that's one of those cool snippets that you can take and be like, oh yeah, you have a hurricane, property values go up. And I'll get into the why here in a second. But they also find that transaction probabilities of homes in exposed areas fall by 7 points. So what does that mean? That means that there are less transactions, less homes selling in those areas, which totally makes sense. That makes sense for a number of reasons. First and foremost, you've got properties that are damaged and they have to be repaired. And it gets into that. It says the timing of this quantity effect is similar to the price effect. Both last around 3 years before returning to the baseline, so back to normal. Taken together, they suggest that the housing markets within exposed areas experience a temporary negative supply shock, which also makes sense, right? There's less properties that are viable to be sold or can qualify for a mortgage. The duration of this effect is consistent with the time it takes a hurricane victim to seek financial aid from insurance companies or federal agencies and to eventually restore any substantial damage the homes get it back to being a bit habitable again. So that makes sense to me, right? In a nutshell, what this is saying is areas where these hurricanes occur, there's a price increase. And we didn't talk about that yet, but there's a price increase in the 3 years following that natural disaster. And this isn't exclusive to Florida. When I dug into this, you can find this data and it supports this argument across the United States, which is really interesting. And several of the studies pointed out the fact that what ends up happening is there are people who cannot afford, right? Cannot afford to either do the renovations or rehabilitation or choose not to. They choose not to. And they sell, and maybe they relocate, or they take the insurance money and they sell the property as is. Trust me, there is a lot of that going on here in the area. So that occurs also. But ultimately, what ends up happening here is people who have the means come in and scoop these properties up. Now, these homes are initially going to take a hit on their value, right? Some people are selling their property for land value. Some people are selling them as you can see it all over. If you go to Zillow or realtor.com or check out any of those sources, you can see all the crazy stuff that's happening out there. But ultimately, what ends up happening again is there is a rebound. And it again, as the study showed, if we go back up here, there's a peak of is up to 10% in a price increase. Now that comes as people start to renovate these properties. Okay. So it's not that obviously it's not the storm that damaged the property and makes the property worth more. It's the people that come in and renovate these properties, bringing them up to today's finished standards and become very desirable. And there's negative effects to this too. So if you guys are watching this, listen, I know all the arguments, right? People are crazy. You're a nut job for rebuilding over there. People have lost their mind. We're tired of subsidy. I've heard all these arguments, right? And here's what I can say. I can appreciate your position, but the people who live here don't care what you have to say, right? And that is the nature of the beast when it comes to living in this area. And you're talking to someone whose home was flooded out. I chose a home that was not in a flood zone. I'm 43 feet above sea level. In theory, I never should have got water, but this was a once in a lifetime event, just like what happened in Nashville. This is what occurs when you have that once in a lifetime event. Now, are they becoming more increasing? Perhaps, right? So when I go look at the NOAA numbers from actual the Hurricane Center, it is what it is. I'm not here to argue whether it's a climate crisis or not. What I'm here to do is help my community rebuild and get back to their life. And you guys can do that in the comments if you want, right? Totally fine. But we're living real life while you guys are playing keyboard cowboys on Sunday. So I'm just here to share the facts and what we're seeing here at ground level. So I just wanted to share that with you guys and kind of get you off in that direction and share some of these resources and studies. Again, this is just one study. It's not anecdotal anymore, but it is a study that was studied over a 16-year period. That's pretty good data. Okay, so wanted to start with that, just kind of walking you guys through that. So good news, we got Siesta Beach open, we've got Clearwater Beach open, we've got more beaches opening. Bad news is we've got some businesses that didn't make it. We've got businesses that won't make it. We've got homeowners that are going to decide to pack up and relocate out of the area, and I can understand that. We've already been moving people to areas like North Carolina. Charlotte's becoming very popular. People feel like that's a safe place to kind of get that in between world. South Carolina has become incredibly popular. Areas like Somerville, suburbs of Charleston, those are very popular areas. Mount Pleasant, these places have been growing for years now, and they're kind of receiving that benefit of people who maybe have moved to Florida and then have moved back. They call them halfbacks, which is hilarious that there's a moniker for that, which I think is fascinating. But definitely, people are scared. This shakes people to their core. I understand. There's nothing good about experiencing a natural disaster in your home. It doesn't feel good. It's inconvenient. And as a matter of fact, it's super frustrating. So I can understand that. I understand people's position. And what I want to say is, listen, man, I hear you. and I can respect the position, but what you need to know is for those of us with boots on the ground, we really don't care, right? We really don't care. So, you know, what you guys have to say, we have to put our lives back together. And the one thing that I'm extremely proud of, you know, I'm not a native Floridian, and you guys can take that for what you want, but we're about to celebrate our 6th anniversary here. And I will say the grit and determination that I see in the residents of the Tampa Bay area and Florida in general, the communal aspect of recovery is some of the best that I've ever experienced in my entire life. And the grit has been just phenomenal, and people coming together and helping. And I couldn't be more proud. I couldn't be more proud. So while we have these challenges, we have real life too. So that's just part of the deal. B says you're way above sea level on Indian Rocks. Absolutely, B. You know, we're about 1.25 miles, 1.5 miles as the crow flies. It's right about 1.25 miles. We're at 43 feet elevation according to survey. And, you know, that sounds great, but we actually found out that we're the lowest house in our neighborhood. And I want to share that with you guys. And I'm going to pull up my property now as promised. I want to share that with you guys because while being at a higher elevation is a wonderful thing and it's something you want to target. Again, if you're going to move to the area, please, 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 if you do not have the resources, if you don't have the money and the time and the people to rebuild your property, okay, then I would encourage you to look at flood zone X and non-evacuation zones at a bare minimum. You still have to do more homework. Okay, you still have to do more homework, but that is my starting recommendation for people who move to the area. We'll kind of talk through that later. B says you're way above sea level. Yep, absolutely. What we got another comment from B says Pastor Real love it, probably feel much better New Year's time. Yeah, absolutely, man. People have short memories. That is the reality of it. And hopefully you guys can see this. What you're looking at right now is 33 seconds in. I didn't pull you guys into the garage here. We pulled up to the house. I grabbed the camera. We didn't have any power. And we walked in the door, and right prior to this was the entryway to the house going from our mudroom. So garage into the mudroom, which is our laundry room technically. And then our couch is just here to the left. You can see it down in that corner. Let me expand this for you guys. Our couch is down here in the corner over here. You can see the rug over here, and I'm about to walk you into our sunroom. And the rest of the country calls it a Florida room. We live in Florida now. We called them Florida rooms before too, but it's a sunroom. It is the lowest point in our house. We already knew that. We tried to do some mitigation here just in case. Again, I've shared with you guys before. We've been here for 6 years. Like, we didn't take water on our property up until this year. Hurricane Debbie, the week of Hurricane Debbie, we actually got water in the house 4 times just from rain. And that's because of the amount of rainfall we've had in Tampa Bay. Our water table's super high. It's a whole nother conversation. Our backyard, I'll share that with you guys once we get into that project too. And just kind of give you some insights on that. But I want to show you guys a couple seconds here. Please forgive any foul language that occurs during this time period. I have not reviewed this, but here's what I know. We were in a moment and it may have slipped out of my mouth or my wife. So just kind of roll with us here. But I'm going to share this with you guys. This is real life, real time recording it because this is just what was going to happen here. Right. And going back to Instagram real quick, I just want to mention some comments. The study says that home prices get hit with hurricane go up in price. Yeah, exactly. They go up in price. The area, it doesn't say the home specifically, Matt. So that's a great question. It said the area. And what it does is it decreases the supply. So it increases demand. And then again, people who are able to renovate these homes or rehab them entirely, bring them up to today's standard, that property now is worth more as long as they are able to do that and put in mitigation factors as well. So it's a great question. That was Matt over on Instagram. Thanks for the question, buddy. I appreciate it. So let me play this for you guys real quick. I'm not going to play the whole 6 minutes here. I just want to show you a little bit of it, what was happening here as we walk in. But I'll shut up and see if we can hear anything also here. You can just hear the water squishing out of that rug. You'll see it when we come in. You can see that water standing on the floor. There's about 3 inches left in there. And before I go any further here, oh shoot, what was I gonna say? Oh, the time period. So the hurricane came in Wednesday evening, dropped all the rain. I didn't flood from storm surge. We're well above that. We flooded from rain. But it rained all Wednesday evening. We got back to Tampa about 4:30 or 5 p.m. on Thursday. So this is somewhere in that 18-hour range. From the rain's kind of tapering off and the sustained winds. Okay, so just kind of sharing that with you guys. But you can see the water, right, where Kate just walked across the floor here. And you can tell we threw up some stuff. Like you're going to see a whole bunch of stuff in the house that we moved to we've never flooded, so we didn't know. But we try to, I think I shared with you guys, when we leave, we put stuff up on the beds and the couches and just try to get stuff off the floor, right? Just so we can kind of see through that. But again, you saw how much water was in that room, and it was a tremendous amount. Now you see it splashing up through my toes and whatnot. It's crazy.
The kitchen's full of water.
I know there's no light. We didn't have any power. So this is just the daylight we had left here, kind of walking around the house.
Full of water.
Just squishing out underneath my feet.
Oh.
You can see the water in the middle over the kitchen there.
Flooded in from here. Definitely under the kitchen, you can see the water there.
I'll stop it right here real quick. So we put a dam. Let me back up just one step here. We put those like barrier dams. They once they get wet, they kind of puff up. Water's never come into our house, so we didn't know how to prepare. Also in the back there, I put sandbags. There's plastic bag and foam underneath there. We did everything we could. This wall right here, I think, is 24 inches high before the windows are there. But yeah, there was a good 3 or 4 inches of standing water back in that room. It was crazy time to say the least. But I'll keep walking you through here, show you the bedroom floors, how they got damaged.
Okay. Well,
hear it flopping around.
You smell it?
It smells.
Oh, wow, it smells like shit right now.
This firefighter is soft.
Oop, yeah, sorry for the language. Censoring that, sorry. But you can see, hopefully you can see the discoloration in the floor. And this is, y'all, don't put hardwood floors in your home in Florida. We didn't. We bought it this way. We knew there could be potential issues. Here's the example of why you don't ever do this. Every single room had sucked water in from the actual foundation of the property, from the water sitting so high up against it, and it ran underneath the floor, and it all became discolored, started cupping, and we ended up having to tear it out. So it all was trashed, which was just crazy.
Floors are soaking wet.
What happened to us, and again, I realize this is pretty public, we're sharing, but we try to be as transparent as possible with the wins and the challenges we've had in Florida in the 6 years we've been here.
Well, it is what it is.
But yeah, it was definitely a shock to the system. And, I shared with you guys, we're living in an RV in our front yard. All the floors are out. The house is clean. Got a clean bill of health at this point. But yeah, that's kind of where our life is. You can see how brown that floor is underneath.
At this point,
you can't see anything else. It gets pretty dark. So yeah, welcome to Juan's world in real life, in real time. What a mess that has been, right? What a mess that has been. I've got some more comments here I want to get to, just as we, and again, y'all, I realize that that's pretty raw and transparent for people, but guys, we don't ever want to be the people that mislead anyone. You're going to have challenges in paradise. We knew this could happen to us. That was an exchange we were willing to make, and we're still here. And our plan is to renovate our home. My wife is going to get the renovation that she wanted. We're out of the house, so we might as well go all the way through, because all we needed to do was the floor, make sure the baseboards were good and there was no mold and mildew in the house, which we've got a clean bill of health on that, so we're good. Let me get to this comment really quick. These are so hard to see sometimes. Forgive me, y'all. What does the comment say? All right, government can come in and say shore acres is no longer buildable. Yeah, they can. It's been flooded so many times, B. It's so hard to understand why maybe that hasn't happened already. But to be quite frank, man, there is a lot of real estate down there. There's a lot of homes. So I'm intrigued to see that. FEMA has not come in and done most of their inspections yet. The municipalities are just starting to get around to them based upon cleanup and stuff. It's been crazy time, man. So thanks for sharing that point. Raphael says, there really is no safe place for natural disasters. I'm constantly edged about wildfires and earthquakes here in San Diego County at the moment. And yeah, it's funny. I was just on a call last week with someone from San Diego who's considering relocating to Tampa. And we were talking about that exact thing. I've been to San Diego many times. Kate and I considered moving there before we ended up moving to Tampa. And I went to San Diego and we went out to Pacific Beach and La Jolla. And I remember driving up the highway there and there were wildfires on the right side of the highway. And you're looking at La Jolla and the ocean on the left. It was mind boggling to me. And you look at what's going on up in New Jersey right now, in Pennsylvania, there's wildfires up. It's crazy how it's everywhere. It's almost like crime where people think that they're like, well, there's no crime here. And then you look at the crime map and there's crime all around them. There's always something that challenges our ability to habitate places, right? Like it's just a reality. And I'm not trying to underplay what has occurred here. $4.6 billion in devastation. I already shared that and counting. That's going to continue to go. So that's important to note. But thank you for sharing that. I appreciate it. B says, if I could get flooded out on the house in Indian Rocks for $2K, I would take it. Well, I think you'll find some things. I don't know that we're going to get down to that 250. The land value alone has people holding on to that, but keep your eye open. You never know what you're going to run across. Storm surge, flooding, totally different from rainfalls. Like they are totally different, right? The amount of sewage that I was exposed to when I went down and helped people clean out their homes. They call it trash out, but help them clean out their homes from Hurricane Helene the week prior to Milton was crazy, right? It was crazy. You really got to just keep that in mind. Juan worked a deal for 200 on his house. No, I didn't get a deal for 200 on my house. I did get a really good deal. I got a great deal on my property, but it's about to go back into the equity I have in the house is about to go back into the house because, like I shared with you guys, our insurance denied us. We don't have flood insurance because we're in flood zone X, and I wasn't carrying it. So I can apply for it, and we made them aware. We're going to make a claim because we want to make sure that we do all the normal processes of a property, but we do not expect to get a dime, and we're not getting any. Right. So we'll see how that goes, man. And again, there's been lots of people that have stepped into our lives and been extremely helpful. We're so grateful for them. People have just done the most gracious things. And if that has been any of you, just know that we're praying for you. We're so grateful. So thank you for that. And speaking of prayers, Timothy says we'll be praying for your family. We appreciate it, man. And here's what we want you guys to know. I'm not coming on here asking for sympathy or anything like that. My goal with these live streams and all things Tampa Bay is to let you guys know what's happening here. And we've been blessed enough to grow an audience and really grow friendships through this process. And I realize that we share this publicly, but I think it's important. You know what I mean? Like it's easy to set your sights on like, well, I'm moving to paradise, and that is true, and I still believe that. Right. I still believe that. But even paradise has some rotten fruit sometimes. Right. Somebody's got to clean that stuff up. And that's the reality of living in these areas. And you got to be comfortable with making those exchanges. And not everybody is. Not everybody is. And trust me, this is not something that I want to be habitual in my life. Right. Like I have no interest in going through this again at all. Right. At all. So we're going to try to do what we can to mitigate that in the future for our household. Okay. I don't control everything. Most of that stuff's in the Lord's hands. Right. All right. He says, as a Georgia resident, I wonder how many Florida folks will cross over to Georgia permanently. And that's a great question, man. Tim, we were in the middle of second home shopping. We were looking at Asheville West, East Tennessee, and Northern Georgia before Hurricane Helene ripped through there. So, and And needless to say, that's not happening now for a multitude of reasons, both because those areas have been absolutely decimated and devastated. And also that money needs to go now into our home. And I'm grateful that we, have the opportunity to do that. Not everybody does, right? So, you got to go through the process. You got to work through it. So I'm going to show you guys some data here on real estate too, just again, and just to give you a picture of what's happening. And as much in real time as I possibly can, because that 2 week period was it's going to be super slow because nothing was taking place. But we'll get into this. All right. B says, I see ReVenture Consulting living in St. Pete now. Not sure if it's permanent. That's very interesting. I've got my opinions on that channel. That channel has been predicting a real estate crash for 4 years, and I've said this before. We call them crash callers, and I know that individual owns their own data company now, and there's a unique thing about data. You can use it for or against any argument, but the reality is the numbers just don't support their arguments. Real estate is cyclical. There's ebbs and flows, and I have a hard time getting down with any of the nonsense that occurs over there. Happy for all the successes, but again, I'm not ever going to try to make money off the backs of people on scare tactics. The evening news handles all that stuff just fine. So, but hey, I'm sure that there's some solid stuff in there from time to time too. But anybody that just keeps saying the same thing without having any evidence, I just have to discount where they are in reality. All right. Let me see here. Vlad, what's up, my brother? He says, I would be here, but it's election night. Y'all, make America great again. Well, shout out to you, Vlad. Thanks for chiming in, my brother. I appreciate it. We knew that this would be a light evening with everybody voting tonight. And again, here's what I'll say. No matter what side you're voting for, y'all, I'm going to love you tomorrow. That is the reality of it. There is a king, and whoever sits atop the United States in terms of presidency is not it. So that is where I sit on that situation. But here's what I will say. I'm proud of anyone who exercises their right to vote. We fought for it. We're grateful to have it. And I encourage every one of you, regardless of whether you choose the same candidate I would or not. I think it's important it is absolutely a privilege in the United States along with a right. So let's get out there and vote, man. Y'all still have time. Some of your polls have closed. All right. We'll find out as this goes along, man. We will find out. All right. Tim says, I was shocked. He moved to Florida after all his, again, I'm not here to make it about somebody else. I'll just say that, you got to let time prove you right. And at some point he'll be right too, but he doesn't know when it's going to be. I don't know when it's going to be. We don't know when it's going to be, but it ain't going to be right now. Promise you that. Joe, what's up, my man? He says, yo, Detroit. Yo, Detroit is right. Yo, speaking of Detroit, funny thing, Joe, my ballot validation number, whatever it was 313 today. Yesterday, I voted early yesterday. And for those of you watching, wondering what the heck I'm talking about, 313 is the area code for Detroit. Joe, 813 is the area code for Tampa. So it's so cool that was going on. Joe says he's coming in to St. Pete next month. Let's link up. Absolutely, man. We'll connect. Happy to make that connection. Okay, cool. You're in LA, coming over from the West Coast, and shout out to 313. Absolutely. So, I wanted to share those things. Let me share some quick data with you guys really quick. Again, you can use data for or against. What I'm going to do is present it to you guys and give you my opinion on what I'm seeing. Okay, real time. Let's talk about that first and foremost. What is happening in real time? Where is... Get to the share here. Important stuff that we want to be covering. Dun, 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 dun. There it is. I don't have my team with me tonight, man. It's hard to do all things at one time. Okay. All right. So let me show you what we're looking at here. I think this is, again, an important piece of data. And forgive me for looking down. It's too hard to manage that screen. I'll share this one with you guys specifically. Okay. All right. What's going on with this screen besides we're all out of whack here? The thing I want you guys, this is I'm gonna point this date out and call it out specifically so we're not chasing it around. Okay. This is Tampa Bay in the last 7 days. All right. This is what's going on in our world the last 7 days. Why is that important? Well, it's a small snapshot, but what I want to see is post-hurricane recovery. What is taking place in our actual real estate market? Okay, so the first number on that screen there, let me see if I can make it any bigger for y'all. Try my best. No, that's as big as I'm gonna be able to get it. The first number on that screen there is new listings. Now, a new listing means that the property just came to the market. This is something that just got listed within the last 7 days. There are 126 of those homes. That's what this little tiny thing says over here. I'm sorry, it's that small. Okay. Price decreases. Now, this is what people are like, oh, the sky is falling. Remember, price and value are not the same thing, but it's important to note that they commingle in a world, okay? But there are almost as many price decreases as there are new listings that came to market, okay? Is it trending up or down? Those are the things you want to pay attention to. But here's the thing that really you want to focus on. So there were 126 new properties listed for sale in the last 7 days, all right? But pending, what does pending mean? 123 properties went under contract. Okay, so think about that. 126 new properties were listed for sale over the last 7 days, and 123 of them went under contract. Okay, now that 123 would come from the overall properties on market, but that is an interesting number. What it says is that almost every new listing that got to the market got gobbled back up. Is that a trend that we're going to see over the next month? I don't know. This is typically one of the slower times of the year, not only in Tampa, but in the United States. And I'll share those numbers with you here shortly. But it's something to take note of. Now, there were also 39 cancellations, meaning that almost 40 people decided to take their home off the market for whatever reason. There were 9 homes withdrawn. Same thing, canceled, withdrawn. That means it's been removed from the MLS. So over 40, almost 50 properties there. And then we got temporarily off market, 13 of those. That means that somebody's probably doing some work on it. But I think that's interesting. We're 3 weeks post-hurricane, and all of the new properties that went up for sale were immediately pulled back, or went under contract. So that's something to note. It's noteworthy, that's for sure. Again, is that the end all be all? Absolutely not. But I want to keep an eye on that with you guys, just because we need to watch that post-hurricane and see what's happening over there. Okay. All right. So we'll keep our eye on that. All right. Now let's get into some other stuff. What is happening across the United States? So this number here is coming to us from Redfin. This is the United States housing market in total. And this is from the month of September. And this is very interesting. Even with all the things going on, the median sales price in the United States is still rising, up 3.8% to $427,000 being the median sales price. Now, number of homes sold is down. We've been talking about this. The United States housing market is recessed, for the lack of a better term. We're going to sell somewhere in the range of about 4 million homes this year. That is nothing. We usually sell 5.5 million on average. This is the second straight year this is happening. But, there's not a whole lot of people moving because of the lock-in effect with the people who have low interest rate mortgages or no mortgages. Over 40% of the United States doesn't have a mortgage on their property. You start thinking about that, it's phenomenal. Another 70% have mortgages under 4%, locks them in. No one wants to play in a 7% interest rate environment. That's where we're at. That's the reality of it. That's been 2 years running. That's what's going on. So I wanted to share that with you guys. All right, now let's get over to Tampa specifically. Again, we're on Redfin. This is accurate data. You can go pull this up yourself. Redfin.com/city, and then put in whatever city you want. It'll get into there. With everything we had going on in September, which we had one hurricane in September, Tampa's median sales price still rose 8.2% year over year. Fascinating. Now, we were down almost 23% in total sales. Holy cow, meaning the number of homes that sold. So we are up in price, but we are significantly down in the amount of homes sold. I'm really intrigued to see what those November October numbers shake out. Even though we're in November, I've shared this before, real estate numbers usually come to us on the third week of the month because they're trying to reconcile everything recorded at the county, make sure it's accurate. All right. So that's why it takes a long time to see those types of things. So man, some pretty interesting stuff happening in the marketplace. So I thought I'd share that with you guys. Even with hurricanes and everything else happening here in Tampa Bay, we're still up 8% year over year in price, which is phenomenal when you think about that. All right, Joe says, might be looking to leave California. Yeah, understood. You won't be the only one. Those are the conversations I've been having, my man, with people who are looking to relocate. And if that's you, if you're still considering making a move here to the greater Tampa Bay area, don't hesitate to reach out to me and the team. I forgot to put the number up there, so forgive me. I'll put that on the screen. That is my cell phone number. You can get directly to me. Our contact is in the description below. But let me get back to these comments here and get after it. And nobody told me that my head's cut off the entire time. This is what happens when you're not in your own home studio. But it is what it is. Such is life, right? All right, Denise, welcome. I'm sorry when you got here, you had to experience that. But I need to talk to you this week. I want to check on you, make sure you're good. It's time. We need to connect. So welcome to Florida, by the way. Definitely interesting. All right. B says new condo buildings with parking garages in the bottom could get more valuable after the mess. Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's the newer construction standards require that anyways, B. So if you go downtown St. Pete, any of the buildings near the coast, they're all built up. They typically have a garage underneath or multiple stories of garages, and then the living units are well above that. So it's definitely something to keep in mind. Can Murata Lagoon get storm surge? No, as far as I know, that's not possible. That would be very interesting because considering they're probably about 40 miles off the water. But I do know that there was damage at Murata because they sent us an email saying, hey, they were going to do some repairs based upon what happened. Good question, Denise. That Stacy is, as you know, she's in the home stretch of getting her home built. She has been displaced because she was living in a condo on St. Pete Beach while her home is being built. And obviously that's had some challenges as well. So I'm hoping that over the next couple weeks here, we're going to get back to normal. And Dennis's wife, her birthday was tonight, and Marcia is spending the time with family. So great question. I know I'm chopped liver here, but thank you for asking. I appreciate that. So Tim says, left California in 2023, do it. Tim, it's fascinating to me, the amount of people that have started reaching back out. When the great migration started to occur, a majority of the people who were reaching out to us were from the Pacific Northwest and Northern California. And then it started to slide down into that San Diego area where people started to make the move over here. But it's just been it's been interesting to see that. Obviously, California's got a tremendous population. They're enormous over there. But Florida continues to grow. And I'm very intrigued to see what our migration numbers are going to be over the next 3 years. Tapping back into that study, our net migration over the last 3 years has been over 300,000 people. People move in and out of here all the time. Florida's always been transient. But now, what will that look like over the next 2 to 3 years based upon what has occurred? I mean, I can't imagine if we get another hurricane, what people are going to do. They're probably going to freak out. And I might be right on that train with them. But again, we love it here. And even though this has been a huge challenge, and I showed you my house, right? Flooded, the whole thing. We hated those floors anyway. So like for us, we were like, again, I don't want to go through any of that, but we're trying to have a great attitude about it. Having a crappy attitude is not going to help the situation at all. So we're just trying to have a positive outlook on the situation, which is like, okay, we wanted to do this stuff in the future. This has forced our hand. And now we just need to take care of what we need to take care of. And that's our approach. And we're finding a lot of people that are in good spirits as things start to open back up. When our coffee shop opened up on the beach, I mean, it was like the clouds parted and the Hallelujah chorus started playing. So we can go back and get just some sense of normalcy. And kids are back in swim, and people are living life again. So I'm excited to be in a community that is, again, very resilient. I'm excited to see people with smiles on their face. I know there are lots of families that are still displaced. I shared that with you guys right when you jumped on here. But here's what I know. People are still going to move here. They're still going to decide to come to Florida. There have been people working their entire lives, right? And to retire to their beach that they grew up on as a kid. And that's not going to change. It's just not. Hurricanes or not, it's not going to change their plans. They may think of it and they may approach it in a different way, and they may try to be more wise in their real estate selections, which I would encourage. But they're still going to come. And there are also going to be the people who decide that this isn't for them anymore and they need to leave. And we understand that too. So, if that's you, if you're local and you don't think this is for you anymore, and you'd like a hand selling your property, my team is happy to be of service. And if you're considering relocating to the area, also know that you guys got us, man. We've helped over 150 families over the last 2.5 years move just because of YouTube alone. And we're grateful to serve our community in whatever way that means. And again, for our locals, man, we're praying for you guys. We want nothing but successes for you. Hope that you insurance comes through or FEMA is able to help. And we'll do anything we can to help out while we're going through this together. And know that we love you guys. And for our community that continues to show up here on Tuesday nights and support us and support each other, I just want to say thank you to you guys as well. There have been literally there are people that we moved here this year that offered their home to my family. And I cannot I'm so grateful that people think and raise their hand and just make those offers. And it's just been a huge blessing in disguise. Right. So I'm grateful. Like I said, thank you guys so much for being a part of this community. And we appreciate you. Timothy, heading out, Juan, appreciate your channel. God bless you and your family. You too, my brother. You too. And God bless y'all. Again, it is election night 2024. We shall see. Wake up tomorrow. Hopefully we'll know who the next president of the United States is, and we can all get back to our lives, at least for the next 2 years before all this craziness starts again. And happy to share the time with you guys tonight. I hope you guys have an incredible evening. Good night. God bless y'all. Take care. Peace out.